Have you ever stopped to think about where the idea that money is something separate from you comes from? From an early age, we're taught to believe it's a distant object, something we need to chase, something that can only be achieved through effort, struggle, and sacrifice. But what if in fact everything you've learned about money was distorted? What if the true nature of money wasn't physical but energetic? This is the central point you need to grasp. Money is energy. It flows, circulates, responds to your vibration, your beliefs, and your internal state. Therefore, those who believe money is scarce end up experiencing scarcity. Those who believe money flows naturally experience abundance. It's not magic. It's not a miracle. It's the simple translation of what you carry within. When you see money as energy, everything changes. It stops being a burden, a problem, or an obsession, and becomes seen as a natural consequence of what you emit. This means that your relationship with money doesn't depend solely on how much you work or how many hours you dedicate, but mainly on the quality of the energy you transmit when dealing with it. Think for a moment, how do you feel when you open your bank account? Does your body relax or tense? Do you feel confident or anxious? These answers say much more about your financial reality than any number, because money isn't attracted to desperation or doubt. It's attracted to certainty, clarity, and the feeling that you're already enough. This is the biggest secret that many don't realize. Money doesn't come because you ask for it, but because you align with it. Imagine a river. It flows naturally, effortlessly. But if you build internal dams made of fear, insecurity, guilt, and limiting beliefs, the current stops flowing. It's not that the water has ceased to exist. It's you who blocked the flow. The same happens with money. When you carry within yourself ideas like, money is dirty, money is difficult, money only brings problems, you erect invisible barriers. These barriers not only keep abundance away, but keep you trapped in a cycle of endless struggle. And until these beliefs are transformed, no external effort will be enough. Before I continue, I want to ask you something important. If you're truly committed to changing your relationship with money and making room for prosperity in your life, do this now. Make sure you've already hit the like button on this video. But only do this if you truly want to attract wealth into your life. And write in the comments with conviction, I'm ready to prosper. This small gesture is a signal, not to me, but to yourself, that you're choosing a new path, that you're sending the universe a message that you want to vibrate in abundance. Now we can continue. Understanding that money is energy requires a profound shift in mindset. Most people believe they need to earn money, almost as if it were a reward for suffering. This belief creates enormous burdens because it transforms life into a race of sacrifices. But money isn't a reward for pain, it's a reflection of alignment. People who vibrate at the frequency of abundance don't need to apologize for having more. They understand that money is simply an extension of what they already experience internally. If there is trust, security, clarity, and gratitude within, there will be movement, flow, and prosperity outside. If there is fear, anxiety, and beliefs of scarcity within, there will be unexpected bills, a lack of opportunities, and stagnation outside. That's why the main work isn't external, it's internal. Now I want you to realize something essential. Every thought, every emotion you harbor about money is like a command you send to the universe. If you spend out of fear, you send the message that you don't trust the flow. If you hoard out of desperation, you send the message that you believe you'll never have it again. If you receive with guilt, you send the message that you don't deserve it. These messages don't remain in the void. They shape your reality. It's like an echo that comes back to you, confirming exactly what you already believed. This is why so many people live repetitive cycles. When they finally manage to save something, an emergency happens and it all disappears. It's not bad luck. It's programming. It's energy in action. You might be thinking, but if money is energy, how can I change the way it flows in my life? The answer begins with awareness. Before trying to apply techniques, rituals, or affirmations, you need to observe what you feel. Close your eyes for a moment and think about money. Observe your body. Does your breathing change? Does your heart race? Do you feel a lightness or a heaviness in your chest? These responses reveal how your mind and body are programmed, and there's no point in simply repeating positive phrases if deep down your body continues to react with fear. You need to reprogram the sensation. This is achieved through practice, repetition, and above all with new daily choices. Every time you spend without guilt, you send a message of trust. Every time you receive without fear, you send a message of worthiness. Every time you look at your account without anxiety, You send a message that you're ready for more. This is the training. This is the process of rebuilding your energy field so that money is no longer an invader, but an ally. Money likes to circulate. It likes movement. Hoarding desperately is like holding your breath. Eventually, you suffocate. Allowing the flow is like taking a deep breath, letting it out, and trusting that there will always be more. This is the essence of money as energy. Now, I want you to repeat out loud without shame, even if you're alone, I am enough. Money flows to me naturally. I trust the flow of life. By doing this, you're not just speaking words. You're teaching your mind and body to recognize a new reality. Because money was never against you. It was you who believed the stories that kept you from it. Stories that said wealth was a sin, that abundance was for the few, that prosperity meant arrogance. These stories aren't yours. They're repetitions you inherited, but they can be undone. And the more you free yourself from them, the more you realize that money was never the enemy. It was always a reflection, and now it's up to you to choose what to reflect on. When you begin to see money as energy, you inevitably need to change the way you see yourself. Most people live believing they don't deserve it, that they're not enough, that they always need to prove something to be valued. This is the first block, the deepest of all, because if you don't believe in yourself, money won't believe in you either. Remember, money isn't a physical object you hold on to. It's a reflection of your inner vibration. If you harbor insecurity, fear, and doubt within you, the reflection will be exactly the same. It's like a mirror. You can't look at yourself in it smiling and expect the image to reflect sadness. The reflection responds faithfully to what you show. Therefore, before wanting more money, you must internally accept that you are already enough, that you already carry value, that you already deserve abundance. Many people believe that only when they earn a certain amount will they feel rich. But this mindset is what keeps scarcity in control. If you only allow yourself to feel abundance when you see a specific number in your account, you're conditioning your energy to a when, and that when never arrives, because your vibration remains stuck in the scarcity of the now. The real secret is to reverse the game. First you feel abundance, first you vibrate confidence, first you align internally with the idea that you are already prosperous. Then the external reflection changes. This is why so many people work hard, strive, sacrifice years of their lives, and remain in the same situation, because external work has no power when the internal remains stuck in the energy of lack. Think for a moment. How many times have you found yourself repeating phrases like, money is hard to come by, everything is expensive, money disappears quickly, I can never save? These little phrases seem harmless, but they act as commands you send to your own energy field. The universe doesn't respond to what you occasionally wish for, but to what you constantly affirm even without realizing it. Every time you repeat these phrases, you reinforce the pattern of scarcity. It's like digging a hole and then complaining about being stuck in it. The solution is to start paying close attention to what you say and think every day. You don't control every thought that appears, but you can decide which one you feed. And the more you feed the idea of abundance, the more this pattern strengthens. You might be thinking this sounds too simple, but remember, simplicity is what works. Money, like energy, isn't complicated. It flows. It's human beings who create complications, rules, resistance, fears, and insecurities that hinder its natural flow. When you decide to trust, when you decide to relax and open up, the flow begins to circulate. This doesn't mean spending irresponsibly or living without planning, but rather understanding that fear can't be the basis of your choices. Saving money out of fear is like holding your breath. Eventually, you suffocate. Spending with guilt is like denying your own worth. True balance happens when you feel that money is always in motion and that you can participate in this movement without being trapped by fear. Now, I want to propose a practical reflection. Think about a recent situation in which you spent money. It could have been something small like buying a coffee, or something larger like paying a bill. Reflect. What was the dominant emotion in that moment? Did you feel gratitude for having money to pay? Or were you afraid that the balance would decrease? This analysis is powerful because it reveals your true relationship with money. And remember, money doesn't respond to the act itself, but to the energy behind it. Two people can spend the same amount. One spends with ease, confidence, and joy, and for them the money returns naturally. The other spends with fear, worry, and guilt, and for them the money always seems to slip through their fingers. The difference isn't in the amount, but in the energy that accompanies the gesture. Often you can even attract money, but if your inner field isn't prepared, it slips away. It's like trying to hold water with your hands closed. Money arrives, but it doesn't stay. This happens because your energy isn't calibrated to sustain abundance. The body and mind are programmed to survive, not thrive. When abundance appears, the body interprets it as a threat, as if having more were risky. This is why so many people, upon receiving a raise or an unexpected sum, soon face unforeseen events, extra bills, or even situations that drain their newly earned income. Their inner field doesn't feel safe to maintain that new level. The good news is that this can be transformed, and the transformation begins with small daily practices, with reprogramming your relationship with money. I want you to do a simple yet profound exercise now. Close your eyes and imagine yourself opening your bank account. It doesn't matter how much money is actually there. Imagine there's exactly the amount that would make you feel calm, at peace, and comfortable. Take a deep breath and notice how your body reacts. Feel the lightness this vision brings. Now say out loud, "I trust the flow of money. I am capable of sustaining abundance. Money serves me, it doesn't control me." By repeating this, you're not just speaking words, you're teaching your mind and body to acclimate to a new sensation, a new frequency. This practice, repeated daily, opens space for external reality to begin reflecting what you've already decided internally. What you need to understand is that money isn't a judge that decides whether you deserve it or not. It's a reflection, an energy that responds to what you believe to be true. If you constantly ask for more but simultaneously fear losing it, the reflection will be confusing and the result will be instability. But if you transmit an energy of confidence, certainty, and deservingness, the reflection will be clear, abundance flowing your way. That's the real game. It's not about chasing, it's about aligning. It's not about fighting, it's about trusting. And the more you practice this alignment, the more natural the flow becomes. Have you ever noticed how money always follows the direction of your attention? When you're constantly focused on debt, bills, and financial problems, it seems like even more situations arise that reinforce this cycle. But when you focus on opportunities, gratitude, and abundance, life begins to respond differently. This isn't a coincidence, it's a law. Money is energy, and like all energy, it expands in whatever you focus on. If you focus on what you lack, the universe amplifies that feeling of lack. If you focus on what you already have and the confidence that there will always be more, that energy multiplies. Your mind is like a signal transmitter, and money is just the response to the signal you're sending. The big problem is that most people have been trained to focus only on what they don't have. From a young age, we hear phrases like, "We can't afford that and that's too expensive. It takes a lot of sacrifice to achieve something." These words aren't just sounds, they're programming. Every time a child hears this, they're internalizing a truth that over time becomes a fixed reality. Life becomes an eternal field of scarcity because the mind has been conditioned to believe that abundance is a privilege for the few. But the truth is, money doesn't distinguish anyone. It doesn't look at surnames, backgrounds, or merits. It only responds to the energetic field you transmit, and if that field is one of scarcity, no amount of physical effort can compensate. That's why so many hard-working people remain stuck in the same place. It's not because they're incapable, but because they're stuck in a survival mindset. Working hard, sacrificing, exhausting themselves, all of this may yield momentary results, but never sustainable. Because the body and mind are sending the message that it's not enough. And if this feeling exists within, the universe confirms it externally. Money comes and goes, but it never stays. And thus begins the cycle of frustration. The more struggle, the more scarcity, the more scarcity, the more struggle. This cycle is only broken when you consciously decide to change your point of focus. To shift this focus, you need to start with small gestures. Gratitude is one of them. It may sound cliché, but it's one of the most powerful tools available for transforming your relationship with money, because gratitude shifts your attention from what's missing to what already exists. And by doing so, you send a signal of expansion to the universe. It's not about being grateful only when you have a surplus, but about always being grateful, even for the little things. When you pay a bill, instead of complaining, be grateful for having the resources to pay. When you buy something, instead of feeling guilty, be grateful for the opportunity to enjoy it. When you receive something, instead of thinking it's not enough, be grateful for the flow that's coming in. This habit alters the frequency you emit and, over time, changes the reflection that returns. I want you to do a practical exercise now. Think of 3 situations in your life, however simple, for which you can be grateful today. It could be the roof over your head, the food you had, or even the opportunity to hear these words. Say out loud, "I am grateful for the abundance that already exists in my life." Repeat this 3 times. This gesture, however small, is like a seed, and seeds, when planted consistently, grow into trees. Gratitude is the seed of abundance. Those who are not grateful for the little will hardly have much, but simply being grateful isn't enough. You also need to change the meaning you give to money. Many people carry guilt for desiring wealth, as if it were wrong to want more. This guilt is a powerful blockage because it sends the message to the universe that you're not at peace with what you desire, and if you're not at peace, you can't sustain the flow. The first liberation is accepting that wanting abundance isn't selfish. Wanting prosperity isn't a sign of vanity. It's simply recognizing that life can be lived with more ease, more tranquility, and more choices. Money doesn't change who you are. It only expands what already exists within you. If you already have kindness, generosity, and love, you'll have even more resources to expand them. Another essential point is to understand that money likes movement. It wasn't made to remain still, stagnant, suffocated by fear. It's like a river. When it flows, it renews itself. When blocked, it rots. This is why spending with guilt is so harmful, because instead of allowing natural movement, you create a weight, a blockage, an energetic blockage. Spending consciously, on the other hand, sends a message of trust. It's like saying, "I release because I know more will come." This doesn't mean spending irresponsibly, but rather releasing anxiety, allowing money to circulate and return. I want you to try something different starting today. Every time you make a purchase, big or small, mentally say, "This money comes back to me multiplied." By doing this, you transform a common act into a ritual of trust. You begin to teach your subconscious that money is not a loss, it is a flow. It is not a sacrifice, it is movement. And the more you reinforce this message, the more it becomes part of your identity. Remember, change doesn't happen overnight, but begins with a gesture, and every gesture counts. Money is energy, but you decide how that energy will move in your life. You can continue to allow it to reflect fear, insecurity, and scarcity, or you can choose to let it reflect confidence, worthiness, and abundance. The choice is always yours, and the more conscious you are of this choice, the more natural the flow will become. If there's one crucial point to understand about money as energy, it's that it doesn't respond to excessive effort, but to an internal state of coherence. Many people believe that the harder they work, the more they sacrifice, the more prosperity they'll achieve. But if that were the case, those who exert the most physical effort would always be the richest, and we know that's not the case. What truly determines how money reaches you is the alignment between your thoughts, emotions, and actions. When you act out of fear, even if you're doing a lot, your energy screams scarcity, and the reflection that comes back is precisely more scarcity. On the other hand, when you act with confidence and clarity, even small actions translate into big results. This alignment is like tuning a radio station. If you want to hear a specific song, you need to adjust the dial to the correct frequency. There's no point in turning it to any side and expecting a clear sound. The same thing happens with money. If your mind is tuned to the frequency of lack, that's what you'll hear and experience. If it's tuned to the frequency of abundance, that's what will manifest. That's why there's no point in simply repeating positive phrases without feeling them. The universe doesn't respond to what you say mechanically, but to what you truly vibrate. A single affirmation spoken with true conviction is more powerful than 1,000 phrases repeated without emotion. I want you to understand something fundamental. Money isn't just a response to what you think, but to what your body feels. Your nervous system stores memories of years of scarcity, of negative phrases you heard as a child, of moments when you witnessed financial hardship. All of this is engraved. So even when you try to think about abundance, your body still reacts with fear, tightness, and insecurity. This is why many people can't sustain wealth even when it appears. Their bodies don't feel safe to maintain abundance. It's as if there's an internal alarm that goes off whenever life tries to expand. This alarm isn't an enemy. It's simply a reflection of old beliefs. But the good news is that it can be reprogrammed. A practical way to begin this reprogramming is to train your body to relax around money. This means observing how you breathe when you think about finances. Do you hold your breath? Does your chest tighten? Does your jaw tense? These reactions show that internally money is still seen as a threat. And if it is a threat, your body will push it away even if you say you want more. The training is simple. Every time you think about money, take a deep breath, exhale slowly, and mentally say, "I am secure in abundance. I can sustain the flow." This practice teaches your body to associate money with security, not danger. Another essential point is to understand that money loves trust. It doesn't approach those who treat it as an enemy. If every time you think of it you feel fear, it interprets this as a sign of rejection. But if you see it naturally as part of the flow of life, it draws closer. The key is to stop placing money on a pedestal as something distant or too sacred and start seeing it as part of your essence. Money isn't outside of you, it's a reflection of what already lives within. Therefore, when you expand, it expands. When you contract, it also contracts. Now I want to propose an exercise that can transform your outlook. Take a bill, any denomination, hold it in your hands for a few moments. Observe your thoughts. What comes to mind when you look at it? Guilt, fear, attachment, anxiety, or trust, gratitude, tranquility. This simple practice reveals a lot about your internal programming. If you feel fearful or heavy, take a deep breath and say quietly, "I am grateful for this money. I allow it to flow. I trust that it always returns multiplied." Repeat until the tension subsides. This practice teaches your mind and body that money is not something to be feared, but something that can flow with ease. Another aspect many people overlook is that money, like energy, doesn't accumulate in environments of resistance. If you spend desperately, if you hold on to every penny for fear of losing it, you create a field of repulsion. It's like trying to hold water with your fist. The more force you exert, the more it escapes. The secret is to open your hand, trusting that the current will bring it back. Spending with awareness and gratitude is the most powerful way to keep the flow alive. This doesn't mean getting rid of everything or acting irresponsibly, but rather releasing the emotional weight that imprisons money. I want you to say it now, out loud, without shame, even if it feels strange. I allow money to flow into my life. I release fear. I choose to trust the flow. By affirming this, you are decreeing a new reality. You are teaching your mind to align with the frequency of abundance. Money doesn't come to those who beg for it. It comes to those who accept they already deserve it. And remember, money has no will of its own. It doesn't choose who deserves it and who doesn't. It simply responds. And this response is neutral, faithful to what you transmit. The universe doesn't judge whether you are good or bad, whether you've suffered or not. It simply reflects. Therefore, if you want real change, you need to change the reflection it's sending. And this only happens when you consciously decide to exchange the energy of scarcity for the energy of trust. Have you ever noticed that money often seems to elude those who desperately seek it, but appears naturally to those who seem calm and secure? This happens because the energy of desperation repels, while the energy of confidence attracts. Money, being energy, responds not to struggle but to an internal state of coherence and certainty. When you act out of fear of loss, you convey the message that you don't believe in abundance. When you act with confidence, you convey the message that you are already connected to the flow, and as a reflex, money comes. This may seem unfair at first glance, but it's a natural law. Money doesn't come close to those who vibrate in scarcity. And scarcity doesn't just mean not having anything. It mainly means believing that there's never enough, that you need to control every detail, that you have to live in constant worry. This frequency closes the doors to abundance. Therefore, true wealth begins in the mind. When you change the way you view money, the way it manifests itself also changes. It's a transformation from the inside out, not the other way around. Now think about how many times you've sabotaged yourself without realizing it. Maybe you turned down an opportunity for fear of not being able to handle it. Maybe you shrank from asking for a fair price for your work. Maybe you spent money out of guilt, believing you shouldn't have bought something you wanted. All of these behaviors deep down are signs that your internal energy doesn't feel safe to thrive. You're not alone. Most people live trapped in this inherited programming, carrying childhood phrases, experiences of scarcity, and memories of hardship. But the fact that this was learned means it can also be unlearned. And the first step to unlearning is observation. Observe your thoughts and reactions around money. Notice how you talk about it in your daily life. How often do you use expressions like, "It's hard, I don't have enough money. Only rich people can afford it." These little phrases are like codes that reinforce the programming of scarcity. The more you repeat them, the more this energy solidifies. But when you consciously decide to change your language, you also begin to change your frequency. Instead of saying, "I don't have the money for that," you can say, "I choose not to spend on that right now." This simple shift takes you out of the victim position and puts you in control of your choices. I want you to do an exercise right now. Close your eyes and repeat out loud, "I choose to believe that money flows to me. I open myself to abundance. I release fear and choose trust." Repeat this 3 times. By doing this, you are sending a new code to your subconscious. You are teaching your body to associate money with freedom, not imprisonment. This practice, repeated daily, can completely reprogram your relationship with abundance. Another point we need to address is the meaning of money circulation. It wasn't meant to be stagnant, hoarded in despair, or used with guilt. Money is like air. It needs to come and go. It needs to circulate to keep life moving. When you hold on to it fearfully, you convey to the universe that you don't believe there will be more. When you allow it to circulate, you convey confidence that there is always a continuous flow, and it is precisely this confidence that attracts more. Money likes movement. It needs to flow to remain alive. So I want to propose a simple practice. Every time you spend, instead of feeling fear or guilt, mentally say, "This money will come back to me multiplied." This transforms the act of spending into an act of trust. You stop seeing money as a loss and start seeing it as a flow. And the universe responds precisely to this energy, bringing back what you released. This practice not only changes your mindset, but also creates a habit of lightness and trust around money. Remember, how you handle money reveals what you believe about yourself. If you feel small, limited, or unworthy, money will reflect that. But if you feel worthy, confident, and ready, it will too. Money isn't outside of you. It's just a response. So instead of chasing it, start aligning yourself internally. Because when you align, money chases you. Now, I want you to write in the comments, to reinforce this new pattern, "I trust the flow of money. I am worthy of abundance." Writing this is like sealing a commitment to yourself, like a declaration to the universe that you are ready to change. Money has always been linked to your deepest beliefs. It's not just how much you want it that matters, but what you truly believe is possible for your life. Many people say they want wealth, but internally, they're stuck in memories of scarcity, inherited childhood phrases, and fears that have been repeated generation after generation. As a child, you might have heard that money doesn't grow on trees, that it takes a lot of sweat to achieve anything, that rich people are arrogant, or that having a lot of money is dangerous. Each of these phrases served as a seed planted in your mind, and over time, they grew and transformed into inner truths that shape your relationship with abundance. These beliefs aren't just thoughts. They've become engraved in the body. When you think about money and feel a tightness in your chest, a lump in your throat, or immediate anxiety, that's your body remembering these old stories. And even if you consciously want prosperity, your subconscious still interprets money as a threat. This is why so many people earn a little extra and then face unexpected expenses, debts that arise out of nowhere, or even financial disasters. It's not bad luck. It's the subconscious trying to restore the comfort zone of scarcity. And this comfort zone, however painful, is what the mind recognizes as safe. The first step to breaking this cycle is to shed light on these hidden beliefs. Ask yourself, what do I really think about money? Do I believe it's difficult? Do I believe I'm not worthy of having a lot? Do I believe that having wealth would distance me from the people I love? By answering honestly, you begin to see the invisible chains that bind you, and when you name these beliefs, you begin to weaken them. Because what's unconscious controls you, but what's conscious can be transformed. Once you recognize your scarcity beliefs, it's time to replace them. But here's an important point. It's not enough to simply repeat positive phrases mechanically. You need to feel, embody, and create new emotional experiences associated with money. If you simply say, "I am rich," while your body tenses, your subconscious won't believe it. But if you say, "I am worthy of prosperity," and take a deep breath, relaxing and allowing that phrase to bring relief, then you begin to reprogram. The body needs to feel secure in the idea of abundance, otherwise it will continue to push it away. I want you to do a short exercise now. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and imagine yourself in a state of financial tranquility. Imagine paying bills without fear, buying what you want without guilt, living freely. Observe your body. Does it relax or contract? If it does, continue breathing deeply and say softly, "I am safe to receive more. I deserve abundance. I can thrive without fear." Repeat until the feeling of contraction subsides. This simple exercise, when repeated daily, begins to teach your body that abundance is not a threat, but rather a new foundation of security. Another essential point is to understand that abundance isn't just about having accumulated money, but about feeling at peace with its flow. Money is like air. You don't live wondering if there will be enough air for your next breath. You simply trust that it will be there. It should be the same with money. But because we've been conditioned to believe in scarcity, we live holding our breath, stifling the flow, trying to control every movement. And when you hold your breath, your body becomes desperate. When you hold your money, your life becomes desperate. The secret is to learn to trust the natural cycle of inflow and outflow. Money doesn't like being trapped. It likes circulation. Now I want you to repeat out loud, even if it sounds strange. I trust the flow of money. I breathe abundance. I release fear and choose security. These phrases, spoken with presence and breath, begin to dissolve old patterns, and the more you repeat them with intention, the more your subconscious mind begins to accept the new reality. Change isn't instantaneous, but it's inevitable when you persist in the new pattern. And remember, money is a reflection, not a cause. It doesn't create who you are. It simply reveals who you believe you are. If you believe you're small, limited, and unworthy, money will confirm it. If you believe you're worthy, capable, and sufficient, it will also confirm it. Therefore, transformation never begins externally. It begins within, with how you see yourself. And as you see yourself as abundant, the external reflection begins to change. Money, like energy, always reflects your relationship with yourself. When you believe you're not enough, that you need to constantly prove your worth, that you'll only be worthy when you achieve something specific, money responds exactly to that. It becomes difficult, distant, always seeming to slip through your fingers. But when you begin to see yourself as already complete, already sufficient, already deserving, the external reflection also changes. This is the key that many overlook. Money doesn't come to fill a void. It comes to expand what you already are. The biggest trap is believing that money is the ultimate goal. This mindset creates an endless cycle of pursuit, because the more you achieve, the more you feel lacking. It's like trying to fill a leaky bucket. No matter how much water you add, it always escapes. This happens because the inner void cannot be filled with anything external. Money will never bring peace to those who live at war with themselves. Therefore, true prosperity begins with the internal recognition that you already have value, are already worthy, and already carry abundance within. When this certainty takes hold, money comes naturally as a consequence. Pay attention to how you handle small amounts. If you treat small amounts with disregard, believing that only large amounts matter, you send the universe a message that you're not ready for more. Money, being energy, senses the level of respect you have for it. If you give thanks for even small amounts, you're declaring that you know how to value the flow in any form, and the universe responds with more. But if you despise the little, the energy understands that you don't yet have the capacity to sustain the much. Abundance begins with how you handle every detail, not just the big events. I want you to do a simple practice. Now take a coin or a small bill you have with you. Hold it in your hands and observe your reaction. Do you see it as insignificant? Or can you see in it the same energy that circulates in millions? Say out loud, "I value every form of money that enters my life. I respect the flow, regardless of the amount." This affirmation creates a new relationship with money, because you begin to recognize that the energy is the same, whether in small amounts or large ones. This appreciation opens space for the flow to expand. Another key point is how you spend. Many people spend with guilt, believing they shouldn't, that they're doing something wrong. This guilt creates an energetic blockage. It's as if you're telling the universe, "I don't deserve what I'm getting," and the result is clear: more scarcity. The secret is to spend with awareness and gratitude. When you pay a bill, instead of complaining, be grateful for the service you received. When you buy something, instead of feeling burdened, feel joy for the opportunity to enjoy it. This shift in sentiment transforms spending into statements of confidence. You stop seeing money as something that disappears and start seeing it as something that circulates and returns. Now, reflect on this. How many times have you held onto money for fear of running out of money? This habit creates a cycle of suffocation. Saving is important, but saving out of fear is a prison. Money needs to be cared for, but not imprisoned. When you save with awareness and confidence, it multiplies. When you save out of desperation, it stagnates. The secret lies in intention. It's possible to save and spend, but always with the same energy. Trust in the flow. I want you to repeat after me now. I am able to receive and sustain abundance. I spend with awareness and confidence. I allow money to circulate and return multiplied. By repeating this, you are training your mind to associate money with security and fluidity, not with burden and worry. And remember, money doesn't measure your worth. It simply reflects your inner state. If you believe you need to sacrifice to deserve it, it will respond with difficulty. If you believe you can receive it easily, it will respond with ease. It's not about asking, it's about aligning. It's not about chasing, it's about trusting the flow. One of the biggest mistakes people make when dealing with money is believing it's an external, distant entity that needs to be earned with almost superhuman effort. This view creates separation. You see yourself on one side and money on the other, as if it were a prize to be achieved. But money isn't something separate from you, it's a direct reflection of what you feel, think, and believe. This is why some people seem to have an easy time attracting abundance, while others live a constant struggle. It's not luck, it's energetic coherence. If you feel that money is hard to come by, that it will never be enough, that life will always be a struggle, money will reflect that. But if you feel calm, confident, and that there will always be more, it reflects that too. Money doesn't choose who deserves it and who doesn't. It simply responds. And this response isn't rational, it's vibrational. Therefore, there's no point in desiring wealth if you continue to vibrate scarcity. The universe doesn't hear your words, it hears your energy. It's important to understand that money isn't an isolated object, but part of a flow system. It behaves like water. It needs to circulate. If you hold it back out of fear, it creates a blockage. If you let it flow with trust, it returns. It's like breathing. You don't inhale and hold it forever. You release it because you trust there will be more. Money should be treated the same way. When you hold it back, it suffocates. When you release it, it breathes. And this trust is what keeps the cycle alive. Now observe your relationship with money. Do you treat it with fear? Do you feel guilty when spending? Do you cling to the little you have, believing it will never come again? These are signs that your energy is misaligned with abundance. And no matter how much effort you make, as long as your inner self remains trapped in fear, your outer self will remain limited. Transformation happens when you begin to change these feelings. The secret isn't to work harder, but to align more. I want to propose a simple but powerful exercise. Close your eyes and imagine a stream of clean, crystal clear water flowing before you. Now imagine that this water is money. See it circulating, passing, returning, always in motion. Repeat out loud, money flows like water in my life. I breathe abundance. I trust the flow. By doing this, you are teaching your mind to associate money with something natural, continuous, and ever-present. This practice, when repeated, begins to dissolve the blocks created by scarcity. Another essential point is the meaning you give to money. Many people associate money with problems, family disputes, debt, and even guilt. This negative association prevents it from flowing healthily. It's necessary to reprogram this meaning. Money is neither villain nor hero, it's neutral. It simply amplifies what you already are. If you already have kindness, it amplifies it. If you already have generosity, it amplifies it. If you already have fear, it amplifies it too. The secret is deciding what energy you want it to expand. Now think about a situation where you recently used money. It could be something simple, like paying a bill or buying food. Reflect, did you feel grateful or worried? Did you see it as loss or circulation? How you respond to these small moments reveals how your energy is programmed. If you reacted with fear, take a deep breath and say, I release guilt and fear. I am grateful for this movement. I trust that money always returns. This transforms your experience and begins to reprogram your relationship with abundance. Remember, money isn't just a tool of exchange. It's also a thermometer of your energy. When you vibrate confidence, it appears. When you vibrate fear, it retreats. Not because it has a will of its own, but because your energy creates the reflection. Therefore, the greatest work isn't external. The greatest work is internal, changing what you feel, think, and believe. I want you to write in the comments right now, I trust the flow of money. I choose to vibrate abundance. By writing this, you reinforce the new programming within yourself, because change begins with the decision to exchange fear for trust. Money is one of the clearest mirrors life offers us. It reflects not only how much we work or produce, but mainly what we believe about ourselves and the world. This is why two people can experience very different situations, even with the same opportunities. One feels secure, confident, and deserving, and money flows more naturally. The other lives in constant fear, doubt, and insecurity, and money seems to hide. It's not the external that changes first, but the internal. Money, being energy, responds faithfully to the vibration you carry. The question you should ask yourself is not, how do I get more money, but rather, how can I align myself with the energy of abundance? Because money isn't something you can forcefully achieve. It's a consequence of an internal state. When you vibrate confidence, clarity, and openness, money comes as a reflection. When you vibrate fear, anxiety, and guilt, it moves away. This is the invisible law that governs the flow. Whether you believe it or not, it always works. Just as gravity doesn't need your approval to exist, the energy of money doesn't depend on your doubt to manifest. It simply responds. Now think about how you react to unexpected financial situations. When an unexpected bill comes up, do you despair? Do you feel as if the universe is against you? Or can you take a deep breath and trust that there will be a solution? This reaction says a lot about what you're transmitting. If you despair, you reinforce the idea that you're never enough, and this vibration creates more difficult situations. But if you breathe, trust, and face it calmly, you send the message that you're open to the flow, and the universe responds with new opportunities, solutions, and paths you never imagined. I want you to do a practice now. Recall a time when you overcame a financial difficulty. It could have been something small or something big. Reflect on how the solution arrived, on how somehow you managed to get through it. Close your eyes and say, I have always been sustained by the flow. I trust that there will always be a way out. I choose to believe that abundance is with me. This exercise shifts your energy because it makes you see that even in difficult times, the flow has never stopped. It may not have come as you expected, but it has always been there. Another important point is how you ask for money. Many people ask desperately, begging, as if money were a judge who needs to be convinced. But money doesn't respond to desperate requests. It responds to certainty. It's not, I need money, but I am abundant, and money circulates in my life. This difference may seem small, but energetically it's huge. A request filled with desperation vibrates lack. Certainty filled with confidence vibrates abundance, and the reflex always follows the vibration. That's why affirmations only work when they're said with conviction. Saying, I am rich with fear in your heart doesn't change anything, but saying, I am enough, I trust the flow, I am capable of sustaining abundance, while breathing deeply, while feeling safe in your body creates a new programming. The secret isn't in the words themselves, but in the internal state they activate. If the affirmation brings relief, it works. If it brings pressure, it doesn't take hold. So choose phrases that truly make sense to you, that sound possible, and that bring peace when repeated. Now, I want you to repeat after me out loud. I am worthy of abundance. I trust money as flowing energy. I release scarcity and choose prosperity. Feel the words, don't just repeat them. Breathe deeply and allow your body to absorb this new frequency. The more you practice, the more your subconscious accepts them as truth. Remember, money doesn't come because you beg for it. It comes because you become a safe space for it to remain. Money is like a visitor who only stays where it feels welcome. If your inner home is filled with fear, guilt, and insecurity, it will quickly pass. But if your inner home is filled with trust, gratitude, and openness, it will remain. The work, then, is to tidy up your inner home so that money feels it can circulate and remain at peace with you. Money, like energy, is neutral. It is non-judgmental, doesn't distinguish between right and wrong, doesn't choose who deserves it and who doesn't. It simply amplifies what already exists within you. If there is fear within, money amplifies fear. If there is trust, money amplifies trust. If there is generosity, it amplifies generosity. This is why different people react so differently when they have access to abundance. Some prosper and expand, others quickly lose everything. The difference isn't in the amount, but in each person's internal state. This is a point you need to deeply understand. The amount of money you can sustain is directly linked to your ability to feel secure in having it. If you feel uncomfortable having more, if you feel fear of losing it, or if you feel guilty about having it, your unconscious mind will find ways to eliminate this excess to restore the safe pattern of scarcity. This is why so many people sabotage themselves when they come close to prosperity. They don't do it on purpose, but their deep-seated beliefs prevent them from feeling at peace with abundance. Think about how many times you've seen someone improve their life and then immediately face losses, debts, or unexpected situations that took everything away. This isn't bad luck. It's the subconscious at work. The body and mind were programmed for scarcity, and when abundance arrived, they interpreted it as a threat. The result was disguised sabotage. The good news is that this can be transformed. When you learn to feel secure in the idea of prosperity, abundance stops being a threat and becomes something natural. Now I want to propose a practical exercise to expand your ability to sustain abundance. Close your eyes and imagine an amount of money greater than any you've ever had. Imagine this amount in your account, available, ready for you to use. Observe your body. Do you feel relaxed or tense? Do you feel tranquility or anxiety? This exercise reveals your level of internal preparedness. If you feel fear or discomfort, take a deep breath and say, "I am safe in having more. I can sustain abundance. I deserve prosperity." Repeat until your body begins to relax. This practice teaches your nervous system to get used to the idea of having more until it no longer feels like a threat. Another key point is how you view the act of receiving. Many people feel uncomfortable when they receive money, gifts, or even compliments. They diminish themselves, reject them, or feel guilty. But every time you reject them, you send the universe a message that you're not ready for more. And if you're not ready, the flow closes. Receiving is as important as giving. And, in fact, only those who have learned to receive with gratitude can give fully. When you receive with an open heart, without guilt, you reinforce the message that you are prepared to sustain abundance. I want you to practice something simple starting today. Every time you receive in any form, be it a payment, a gift, or a kindness, say out loud, "I receive with gratitude. I open myself to more." This teaches your mind to associate the act of receiving with safety and pleasure, not with guilt or discomfort. This habit makes room for the flow of money to expand in your life. Remember, money is like a river. It wasn't meant to stand still, but to circulate. It flows in, flows out, and flows back in. When you trust this movement, the flow becomes natural. But when you hold it back with fear, you create a blockage. And this blockage doesn't just affect money, it affects your entire life energy. Because scarcity is an attitude that contaminates everything. Relationships, opportunities, choices. But when you live in abundance, everything expands too. I want you to repeat after me now. I trust the flow of money. I receive with gratitude. I am able to sustain abundance. Take a deep breath and feel this affirmation in your body. Imagine that by saying these words, you open the doors of your life to the flow of prosperity. The more you practice, the more natural this becomes. And remember, money isn't something you have to chase after. It's something you attract by aligning yourself. The more you trust, the more it flows. The more you open yourself, the more it stays. That's the real game. It's not a struggle. It's a connection. Money is movement. This is one of the most powerful truths you can grasp. It was never created to remain stagnant, hoarded with fear or held in guilt. It's like blood circulating through the body. If the flow stops, life ceases to exist. And in your case, when the flow of money stops, the feeling of financial suffocation appears. This paralysis doesn't happen because the money has disappeared, but because its energy has been blocked. What blocks the flow aren't the numbers themselves, but the fear, anxiety, guilt, and limiting beliefs surrounding your relationship with it. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to always have unforeseen circumstances just when they manage to save a little more? It's as if life conspires to make that amount disappear. This isn't a coincidence. It's unconscious programming. These people's minds and bodies don't feel safe maintaining abundance. They've been trained to believe that having more means risking more, losing more, or even moving away from the people they love. So, unconsciously, they create situations to return to the pattern they consider safe: scarcity. It's not a lack of effort, it's a lack of internal alignment. Therefore, the greatest challenge is not just attracting money, but sustaining its flow. Attracting money can happen quickly, but sustaining it requires a mind and body prepared to live with abundance without fear. This is built with new emotional habits. Every time you look at money with peace of mind, you train your body to feel safe with it. Every time you spend with gratitude, you teach your subconscious that the flow continues. Every time you receive without guilt, you send the message that you're ready for more. These small daily practices are like bricks that build the solid foundation of your prosperity. I want you to do a practical exercise now. Imagine that money is a guest arriving in your home. How would you welcome it? With fear that it would leave? With guilt that it shouldn't be there? Or with trust and joy offering space for it to stay? The way you imagine this scenario reveals how you treat it in real life. Money likes to be welcomed naturally, without exaggeration, without drama, simply with gratitude. From today on, every time money enters your life, treat it like a welcome guest. Say mentally, "I am grateful that you are here. I trust that more will come. You are free to circulate and return." Another essential point is to understand that holding on to money out of fear is like trying to hold water with your hands closed. The tighter you hold it, the more it escapes. The secret is to open your hand and trust that the flow returns. This doesn't mean living without planning, but rather living without anxiety. Saving consciously is different from saving out of fear. Spending consciously is different from spending out of guilt. What defines the effect is not the act itself, but the energy that accompanies it. Now close your eyes and repeat after me out loud. I am an open channel for prosperity. Money flows freely into my life. I release fear and choose to trust the flow. Breathe deeply and allow these words to become a sensation in your body. This is the practice. Repeat until your subconscious begins to accept them as truth. Remember, money is not your enemy. It didn't come to punish you or test you. It's just a reflection. It shows you how your internal energy is. If you live in fear, it reflects scarcity. If you live in trust, it reflects abundance. The real work isn't controlling money, but managing the energy you transmit. When you understand this, you realize that it was never money that controlled you. It was always how you related to it. Money has always been surrounded by meanings, but few stop to realize that these meanings are not universal but personal. Each of us carries our own narrative about what wealth is, about what is possible, about what it means to have or not have. These narratives were constructed from an early age, often without our awareness. Perhaps you grew up hearing that those who have a lot of money are not happy, or that money doesn't bring peace, or even that you have to suffer to achieve something. These phrases, repeated unfiltered, become inner truths that shape your relationship with abundance. What you need to understand is that money doesn't carry a fixed meaning. It merely reflects the meaning you give it. For some, it's a symbol of freedom. For others, it's a symbol of guilt. For some, it represents power. For others, it represents fear. Money is neutral. It has no color, no emotion of its own. It's merely a reflection. So if money in your life always seems to bring difficulty, it's not because it carries this essence, but because you've programmed it that way through the beliefs you've inherited and repeated. This is the good news. If money is a reflection, you can change the image it projects. You don't have to keep repeating stories of scarcity that aren't even yours. You can decide, starting now, to write a new narrative. You can see money as a flowing energy, as a symbol of freedom, as a possibility of choices, as an expansion of life. This shift in meaning doesn't happen overnight, but begins with small choices in language, perception, and reaction. I want you to observe how you talk about money in your daily life. Do you use negative expressions like, "Money disappears quickly," "It's never enough," "Everything is expensive"? Every time you say this, you reinforce the vibration of scarcity. Starting today, change the narrative. Instead of saying "there's never enough," say, "I always find ways to expand." Instead of saying "money disappears quickly," say, "Money circulates and always returns." Instead of saying "everything is expensive," say, "I choose what adds value to me." This change in language reprograms not only your mind, but also your energy. Another powerful exercise is to transform every expense into an act of gratitude. When you pay a bill, instead of complaining, say, "I'm grateful for this service and for having the resources to pay." When you buy something, say, "I'm grateful for being able to enjoy this moment." This simple practice takes the weight off the act of spending and transforms it into an act of trust. Money stops being seen as a loss and starts being seen as a movement. And the more you trust in the movement, the more it returns. Now, I want you to close your eyes for a moment. And imagine money not as a piece of paper or a number on a screen, but as a stream of golden light. Imagine this stream flowing around you, flowing in and out as lightly as air. Breathe deeply and repeat out loud, "Money is flow, it flows freely in my life. I receive, I release, and it always returns multiplied." This visualization creates a new symbolic association with money, and the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Many people believe they need to wait until they have more to begin to feel abundance. But this is the trap that keeps scarcity alive. Abundance doesn't begin in the future. It begins now in how you feel and relate to what you already have. When you can feel abundant even with little, you create space for more. But when you only allow yourself to feel abundance with more never arrives because your vibration remains stuck in lack. Repeat after me now. I am abundant in the present. I choose to vibrate gratitude. Money is my ally, not my enemy. These words, when truly felt, begin to dissolve the idea that money is something distant or inaccessible. You realize that it has always been around you, just waiting for you to make room to receive it with trust. One of the biggest secrets you need to understand is that money isn't outside of you. It's not something separate, distant, and needs to be earned. It's a direct reflection of what you believe, what you feel, what you vibrate with. If there's scarcity, fear, or insecurity within you, the reflection will be the same. Unexpected bills, difficulties, and blockages. If there's confidence, clarity, and openness within you, the reflection will also be abundance, opportunities, and lightness. Money only reflects what already exists within. This understanding can be uncomfortable at first because it means taking responsibility. It's easier to believe that the lack of money is the fault of the world, of circumstances, of luck. But as long as you put yourself in this position, you lose the power to change. True power begins when you recognize that the reflection can be changed. There's no point in fighting the mirror. If you want to see a new image, you need to change the way you present yourself to it. Money, being energy, follows this same logic. It only returns what you transmit. Now stop for a moment and reflect. How do you feel when you think about money? Does your body relax or contract? Do you feel relief or anxiety? These sensations are clues to the frequency you're emitting, and it's this frequency that determines the flow that reaches you. You may often be repeating affirmations of abundance, but if deep down you feel fear or distrust, that's what the universe hears. Money doesn't respond to words, but to the true vibration that comes from the heart and body. A simple yet transformative exercise is to change the way you breathe when you think about money. Every time a worry arises, instead of holding your breath or letting your body tense, take a deep breath and release it slowly, mentally repeating, "I am safe in receiving. I trust the flow. Money flows naturally in my life." This practice teaches your body that money is not a threat, and the more you repeat it, the more your subconscious learns to feel at peace with abundance. Another important point is how you relate to small amounts. Many people say they'll only change when they have a lot of money, but this mindset is precisely what keeps them in scarcity. If you don't know how to handle a little, you won't be prepared to handle a lot. Because money is always the same energy, regardless of its value. Those who despise the little send the universe a message that they're not yet ready for the big things. Therefore, appreciate every income, every gain, every opportunity, even if it seems small. Gratitude for the little makes room for the big things. I want you to do a practical exercise now. Take a coin or a bill of any denomination, hold it in your hands and observe it carefully. Realize that that small amount carries the same energy that circulates in millions. Say out loud, "I honor every form of money that comes to me. I value the little, and therefore I am ready for the big." This simple practice reprograms your mind to see abundance in all forms, not just the big ones. And remember, money isn't a reward for suffering. It doesn't come because you've worked yourself to exhaustion, but because you've aligned yourself internally. Of course, effort is part of it, but effort without alignment is like rowing against the current. You get tired and don't move forward. Aligned effort, however, done with confidence and clarity, flows like rowing with the current. Each movement takes you further with less wear and tear. The secret isn't to struggle more, it's to align more. Now repeat after me out loud. I am worthy of prosperity. I trust the energy of money. I release fear and choose abundance. Take a deep breath and allow these words to become a sensation within you. This is the training. Constantly replace fear with confidence until confidence becomes natural. Imagine for a moment that everything you need to completely transform your financial life already exists, not outside but within you, and that this access to true wealth, the kind that doesn't disappear over time or depend on luck, is blocked by just one thing: your mindset. Yes, what separates you from the abundance you desire isn't the job you don't have, the salary you think you should be earning, or the opportunities you think others have. It's the way you see money, the way you feel about it, the way you position yourself toward the possibility of being rich. And that's exactly what we're going to delve into now. People often believe that to become rich, they need to study for years, take courses, start businesses, or get lucky with some great opportunity. But reality shows something completely different. There are people who study hard and remain poor. There are hard-working people who work hard for decades and never achieve financial freedom. Meanwhile, other people seem to have a natural magnet for attracting money. Nothing about them seems extraordinary, yet their lives flow with abundance. Is this coincidence? Is it privilege? Or is there an invisible pattern at work behind the scenes? This pattern is precisely the powerful secret held by a certain book. A secret so transformative that, if you understand and apply it, it can literally change everything. But be careful. I'm not talking about magic, nor fantastical promises. I'm talking about an internal reprogramming, a change in the foundation of your identity. Because it's not what you do that determines how much money you attract.